So if my kid was going to take over for my empire and follow in my footsteps, what would their project be? What would Ishana Alexander Salt get up to? And yours?
I guess like yours would be messing up your sleep cycle as much as possible. So like even more than yours is messed up. Like
she just doesn't have the natural skill her dad had at that.
She gets up at like 10:30 and everyone's like, oh, disappointing.
That sucks, dude.
We thought that you were going to be the one to finally wake up at like 2 p.m. So they would, your child would wake late and then start a podcast about good films but saying bad things about them.
Oh my god, no, they're cinema sins. No. Damn it. You've become everything I ever hated. And how about you? How about a little Ishana maiden?
I don't know. I have no legacy in this world, I guess.
I think she's just a boss, but like a little less of a boss than you.
Boss?
A little less of a boss.
She's got a big butt.
She's got an alright butt.
She's got a relatively big butt, and she just walks around looking. Oh, my niece. This would be it, right? My niece said to me on Saturday. She's 9, and she's telling everyone, getting everyone to tell her a joke. And she says, I'm not even kidding, she said this, 9 years old. She goes, I haven't laughed in 3 months. And I was like,
yeah,
you're related to me.
Yeah, that's got Katie blood going on. Hello and welcome to One Good Thing, the podcast that's broken too many rules. I'm joined by a friend of the Paul's cast, that horror chick.
Hi, bestie.
And she has joined me to hand me my bird as we descend into the murky depths of The Watchers, or The Watched, as I keep calling it in my notes.
No, it is The Watch.
No, it's The Watchers. Wait,
it's so not.
Oh,
hang on,
God.
I looked it up because I was calling it wrong. Hang on. This is how much we liked it that we know the name of the film.
I love knowing the name of the film I watched.
It is definitely The Watch.
I just googled it and it said The Watchers.
This is IMDb.
What the
What is this place? Who are you? We're just like you. Lost. They come every night. They watch us until the sun rises again. It's a window on the other side.
I think it's that. Wait! The Watchers, titled The Watched in the United Kingdom and Ireland.
Okay. If you're in the UK, then The Watched. If you're in the US, The Watchers.
Well,
I don't know why they do that. Like,
I look forward to how I've rationalised that in the episode name. Great. So this is an adaptation of the A.M. Shine's gothic horror novel from 2021. Ooh, the vintage. And from what I can see, Ishana Night Shyamalan was attached from the inception of the project, stoking some allegations of nepotism because of her famous dad, M. Ishana replied, "It's something that I consider and have considered every day in the process. I was very afraid of those implications, of what those implications would be, and if I would be judged. Having something to prove when you walk into a room and a space is never a bad thing, and makes you work harder, and makes you want it more. Yeah, in many ways, Nepo babies are a marginalised group." Poor things.
No.
Poor things. They've got to try so hard. They've got to work harder than everyone else, Katie.
They really do. Just
They
ask
do.
all those Nepo babies.
Just ask them if you can get an interview through their agent. She also said, "By nature of being born into this life and having a parent in the industry, there's definitely a sort of advantage stepping into the field. You just have that sense of being able to achieve it." Yeah, that's definitely the main advantage. Incidentally, all of Ishana's previous credits are working on her dad's films, and this film was entirely funded by her father.
Yeah, I mean, this wouldn't have been funded by anyone else because it was atrocious.
I mean, New Line Cinema. You know what? I now remember that when the movie started and the New Line Cinema logo came on, I think I leant to you and said, "Oh, nostalgic."
Yeah, you were like, "What the?"
I was like, oh my god, New Line Cinema still exists. That's adorable. Are we about to watch The Lord of the Rings?
Oh, I should have used that new inside joke. I think we should leave.
Oh yeah. As soon as that came up.
During Ghostbusters, the newest one.
Oh god.
Paul just leaned over to me at one point and went, "I think we should leave."
It's inappropriate for us to be here. We need to leave. Oh god. Also, this movie was made during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike, so these people are all scabs too.
Mm-hmm.
They made some sort of special arrangement. Maybe they agreed to pay people nicely, but whatever. Scabs. Wait, what are the critics doing? They're applauding for you, Aishana. No, not really. Master critic Wendy Ide over at The Observer says, on the evidence of this uneven folk horror, Shyamalan shares with her father a knack for crafting atmosphere. But she also demonstrates the Shyamalan family trait of leaning on inelegant chunks of exposition and blunt weapon third act plot ambushes. That's a good phrase. Blunt weapon third act plot ambushes. That sounds like something I'd enjoy.
I love that so much.
But for the public, it's showtime. Michael Dunn on Google says, okay, prepare yourself. In stark contrast to the pedestrian analysis of the film, I must assert that this movie is nothing short of a cinematic triumph, masterfully blending elements of fantasy and horror to create an unparalleled viewing experience. The narrative, which some have mistakenly criticised for its initial pacing, actually lays the groundwork for a deeply immersive story that rewards patience and attention to detail. Dakota Fanning delivers a tour de force performance, anchoring the film with a depth and nuance that is seldom seen in contemporary cinema. Her portrayal of the protagonist is both compelling and emotionally resonant, offering a character that is richly layered and profoundly relatable. I'm going to skip the next 4 paragraphs of this. In conclusion, this film is a testament to director Aishana Lynch. Lynch is a Freudian slip. Aishana Night Shyamalan's visionary storytelling and artistic prowess. It signals a bright future for her career, promising even greater cinematic achievements to come. Those who dismiss this film's intricate narrative and profound emotional resonance simply lack the critical insight and appreciation for what is truly a masterful piece of cinema. And 170 people found that helpful.
Who is paying this man?
Hang on a minute, and the mustache falls off. It's M. Night.
Doesn't M. Night have a mustache?
I think he does. There's just like a larger mustache falls off, and it's M. Night. Ah!
Oh, God.
God.
I disagree.
I disagree. I think I might, unfortunately, lack the critical insight and appreciation to understand what's going on here. Oh god. Now, quick note on Threeman. Dakota Fanning is only a two-man because she was in Breaking Dawn Part 2, apparently?
Yes, she is. She's one of the... What's the name of the, like, baddies? The Volturi?
Oh, yes, that makes the Michael Sheens.
Yeah, the Valtori, I think is the name of them. Yeah,
she's one of them.
The creepy looking one. The one that looks like Dakota Fanning, that one.
Unlike Michael Sheen, who just came from the pub to do that role. But her sister / cousin / I don't know, reincarnated entity, Ellie Fanning, was in Twixt. So kind of a three-man? Because I'm not convinced they're not the same person.
I can tell them apart, just about.
Are there any more? Or is it those two?
I think it's those two, but then there are other people that look like they should be Fannings.
I just feel like they've been like, which Fanning shows up in Friends and is like the little girl who talks to Joey? I think that must be Ellie.
Ellie? I don't know. One of them.
I just feel like they've been young for my entire life.
They've just got very smooth skin.
One of them was in Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro in like 2002. It just doesn't add up.
There's something going on with the Fannings, you guys, and we're going to crack this thing.
Look, they're a family of ancient vampires, and that needs to be said. Yeah,
she was actually the real Valtori.
Oh no, they based the movie around her and the book. Oh god. The Watchers has 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, 46% on Metacritic, 80% on Google, and made $29 million on a $30 million budget. Sorry about that. Dad.
That's so far though, because like it's still out.
True, but it's been out for a while in the States. I think it's been out since the beginning of June, so it's not looking good. And unfortunately, this represents a bit of a trend for underperforming horror at the box office these last couple of months. But
Yeah,
hey.
but like some of them were so bad.
One of them was Imaginary, to be fair, which we also could have done.
Imaginary was good. I think
I
you mean
loved it.
Abigail.
Oh, no, Abigail 100%
Abigail was
we could have done.
atrocious.
I don't think Imaginary was good, but I did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, no, Imaginary wasn't good, but it was like...
Of course it counts.
I think the last one that I saw that I think was good was Last Night with the Devil.
Which also underperformed, unfortunately. But to be fair, it had a very limited release. You really had to hunt that movie down to see it.
Yeah, but I liked it a lot. Anyway.
Me too. I'm hoping I'll like In a Violent Nature, which is round the corner and looks good, as does Longlegs. So there's a lot, as we've covered in the Patreon episode, there's a lot to be excited about. So hopefully some of these will make some money. But for now, Katie,
Cool.
you halfling. I thought you couldn't talk.
What?
I thought you couldn't talk.
What's one thing? Like, why are we talking about this? We saw this on Friday.
We did. We saw this
Oh no,
2 days
Wednesday.
ago. Wednesday. We saw
Wednesday.
this week. Yeah, last week.
we saw it very recently and needed an episode. And there's usually a bad horror movie we've seen in the last week. So, but what were your expectations for this going in?
Well, I'm a huge M. Night Shyamalan fan, and I know it's really unfair to compare them, but actually not really, considering her whole experience has been working on her father's films.
She's done nothing to distance herself from her father's legacy, and indeed, you know, professional namers Aishana Night Shyamalan, so to really hammer it home. And she's using his money, so I think it's fair game.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted... The thing I love about Shyamalan is how dumb everything is, right? Like, it's not like it's high concept cinema. It's like there's usually a super twist. The dialogue is atrocious. The horror can be good. And usually there's some big names in there that kind of make it worth it. So this had some big names.
It did. It had some. Well, it had a name, I think.
A big name. But I also know the other younger chick from 13 Reasons Why.
Yes.
And also she was in, as we looked it up, what was it?
I remember looking it up. I'm hoping you'll remember what it was.
It's another horror film that was quite good. I can't remember what it was called.
No.
So, yeah, I had expectations of it being watchable.
Yeah.
And we did watch it, so that was met.
Barbarian.
Barbarian, that was it. That was what she was in.
Yeah.
But I just, I think my expectations of seeing another Shyamalan film were not met.
I think...
But also the expectations of just seeing a bad horror film weren't particularly met. I mean, we just saw, a couple of weeks ago, we just saw... Sting? Is that what it was called?
Sting.
The one with the big spider, which wasn't particularly good either. But like, I felt like it was better, and that was
It was
like,
fun.
yeah, and then it didn't. Yeah, it didn't have any of that kind of fun bad horror stuff, does it? Did it?
No, not really. I think for my part, Shyamalan usually does deliver a fairly high concept kind of work. Usually there is a concept which is quite an interesting one. You know, Beach That Makes You Old. You know, the Knock at the Cabin is a fantastic concept. You know, there's several, like, and he'll often sort of adapt them from other works these days. You know, back in the day, I think he's run out of twists that he can have, so he started to look for sort of twisty novels. But yeah, we're talking about him, and this is the daughter. But you know, the premise was interesting, which is something she does have in common with her father. Is that it's an interesting premise. The trailer had very little dialogue. It was mostly just this really moody, kind of well-edited, kind of tone piece that didn't give much away.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you hear our main guy, I mean, okay, so the movie starts. Let's get to the plot. And we've got a guy running through the woods. And as he's running through the woods, he is muttering and explaining the situation to himself.
Yeah, there's talking
just
to
a little
a camera
further.
or something. Like, you know how like in Disney there's always like a animal character that the main character can talk to when they're trying to explain something.
Are you suggesting this guy should have had an animal sidekick?
Well, that's why she has the bird, really.
That's true, actually. She does get given an animal
so
sidekick.
she gets given an animal sidekick. He doesn't.
God.
He's just talking to himself, which is like what people just do all the time, you know, just talk to themselves. Like I'm rewatching Dexter, right? So he's got the ghost of his father that he talks to out loud to make it not weird that he's talking to himself out loud.
We've all got that. Yeah, I remember those. I remember the part of Dexter going downhill was for me was that he stopped talking to his dad about moral concerns and just started explaining the plot to him. Oh God. Oh, I just realised in the new one that's what they're doing with Deborah. Anyway.
Let's not talk about the new one.
Let's not talk about Dexter.
Let's talk
at all.
about Dexter.
In fact,
Anyway.
let's talk about
Yeah.
The Watchers.
Okay, The Watched.
The Watched, whatever it is. Because yes, after the guy gets got in the opening credit sequence, we then cut to our hero, Ellie Fanning.
Dakota Fanning.
Watchers watched Ellie, Dakota. Come on, guys. Ishana, M. Night. We're all talking the same thing here. What is she doing at the point when we meet her?
She is working at a pet store.
That's
And
right.
she's like sketching because that's like her thing because she's alternative and she's putting on an Irish accent because we're set in Ireland.
Amazing.
And she's not Irish, she's just putting the voice on.
For my part, I totally didn't get that and I thought she was just an American living in Ireland.
I think someone lives nearby. So we're in agreement then? We'll walk.
Yeah, I mean she is, but she's putting on the Irish accent at this
I
point.
didn't notice.
And
For
then-
customers? Or, like, is that a thing within the
No,
movie? Or is that...
I think she's trying to want to run away from her past. She's got this like troubled past background, right?
She does have a troubled
which
past.
we learn about later. And so she's putting on this Irish accent. She's vaping in the store. She's so alternative,
What a
whatever.
badass.
And then she gets given this bird, and the manager of the pet store's like, "Can you deliver this bird to this place?"
To this island, which
To this
hasn't
bit
seen
of
a city
island.
woman in ages. This island near Ireland. But yeah, Tippi Hedren heads off with Bird that can talk and that she can talk to.
No, he can
and
only say
then-
one thing. Did you notice that?
Oh, don't die.
Try not to die. So she
Try not
says,
to
like,
die.
I'm going out, try not to die. And it repeats back, try not to die. And it's the only thing it says for the rest of the movie, which is
Oh my
supposed to be
God.
like creepy, but it's just not because it's like so so on the nose that it's like,
just a goofy parrot.
yeah.
So she heads off and she drives into the woods. Her car breaks down and refuses to start. So she does what any other person would do, which is to get out and continue her journey on foot with Bird.
She's so silly.
But she gets scared, so she tries to run back to the car, but it's gone, like Kaiser Soze. The greatest trick that car ever pulled was convincing the world it didn't exist. So caught out in the middle of the woods, she starts to hear creepy noises and like weird, horror movies like that, like bone cracking and like weird little noises, like in a horror movie now, like
Yeah.
all horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay
She
out the
hears that.
forest, guys.
Uh-oh, call your dad. So some woman like opens a door and is like, "Come with me if you want to live," only more funny because
She literally
of her
says that. She's
incredible
like, if you
performance.
want to live, you've got
Yeah.
5 seconds. 5, 4.
Oh my
And so
God, if she
Dakota
had
Fanning
gotten
starts running.
Arnie for that role, this would be a different story.
If you care for your life, you're going to have to run. 5, 4, 3, 2.
And she runs, she gets to the door, she goes through the door, and the door shuts.
With Bird. Don't worry about the
With
bird,
Bird.
guys.
The bird
That's
is
fine.
there.
And we meet our heroes. We've got little Jamie Bell. I think he is. We've got Barbarian.
Barbarian
And-
chick. Yeah.
And we've got our hilarious, sort of whimsical, wizard-like, definitely a normal person and not part of this, older Irish lady.
I don't mean to scare you, but we haven't much time. It's not wise to keep them waiting. Kira, will you stand by Mina? Keep her calm. They'll be very interested in someone new.
Like Meryl
Yeah.
Streep from Into the Woods, kind of.
Meryl Streep if she went insane. And yeah, it turns out the premise is this cabin that they're in, this cabin in the woods, has a big like glass window that you can look through, and it's floor to ceiling, so you can see the whole of the inside from the outside. And when you find out what this cabin was built for, that's a bit weird, but I guess it makes sense. They go inside in order to, escape from the horrible monsters outside, which will come and get you every night. And because of the harsh lighting inside of the cabin, you can't see out because the windows become reflective, but the things on the outside can see in, and they like to sort of just come and watch our main characters.
Yeah, like it's a show for them. They're watching the humans,
Yeah.
and these four characters, now including Dakota Fanning and the bird, 5, including the bird, are being watched by the Watchers, UK, US, and they can only go outside during the day when the Watchers are down in their holes, which they live in, apparently, and they don't know, we don't know, or they don't know what they look like at this point in the story.
No, but it's a massive thing, apparently. At this stage, I'm pretty sure I just dead-ass fall asleep, but when I wake up...
You did, I had to poke you.
You did have to poke me. When I wake up, they have bonded, they have established the fact that you can only get so far away from the central base before you're past the point of no return and you have to run back. How were those points discovered?
So, spoiler, there's a guy called the Professor.
Yes.
Who has been there previously, and he has put up these signs that say point of no return, like 1 to 100 and something.
He must have calculated it, because trial and error is going to get very costly if you're trying to do it just by running. It's like, okay, I only just barely made it back that time. That's where I'll put the limit.
Yeah, he must have calculated it somehow, but he's put all these signs up that say point of no return, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, like up to like hundreds. Yeah. And Ellie, no, you've done it to me. Dakota Fanning is an artiste, so she uses chalk to like draw on the floor of their cabin like a map of the woods and the points of no return.
Yeah. Stuff starts happening. Tensions rise. Jamie Bell starts going a bit nutty. The beasts outside show an ability to sort of copy people from their past. And try to use that to lure people out, especially Barbarian Lass, who really hasn't learnt better from all of her experiences. Yeah,
she's that her dialogue especially is like something to behold. Of like, you are so thick. But obviously, this is a great actress. Like, if anyone out there has seen 13 Reasons Why,
or Barbarian,
look up who we're talking about, because she's one of the main actresses in that, and she's amazing in that. This isn't her fault. Yeah. The dialogue is bad.
No. And the thing is, in Barbarian, she also has to do a lot of stupid things that no one would ever do. I know people who actually didn't like the movie because of how incredulous they were that anyone would walk back into that situation after the first 5 minutes of that movie. And yet, I think she sells it. So she's usually quite good at selling, stupid decisions. But here she is struggling at the sheer enormity of it.
So there's some tensions rise between the four. Dakota Fanning tries to get out by using some items that she's found in one of the holes that she lowers herself into.
Right.
With the help of Jamie Bell. She finds a bike, but then they throw it back into the hole. Because basically the rules have been made up by this older Irish lady who's been there the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's trying to keep them all safe by going through all this stuff and trying to make sure they don't die. Like the parrot ones. Ostensibly. Spoilers. So, I mean, eventually we get to a point where tensions have risen to such an extent that he tries tying the Irish lady up outside in the hopes that the things will get her. And then he runs off with Barbarian Lass to go back to the hut, whilst Dakota Fanning stays to untie sort of whimsical Irish wizard lady. And they get back, but not in time. The door is shut, and so they have to go hide, and they start to experience the monsters and discover that they are shapeshifters.
Yes, so they start to look like humans that they have previously encountered. So, for example, Barbarian Lass's husband, who had left 6 weeks earlier to try and find a way out, or in fact, themselves. I think at one point one of them looks, and it is basically a wizened old lady. Yeah. That's what the Watchers actually are. They're these and there's a whole load of exposition about them being fairy tale monsters, basically, that can shapeshift. Spoilers.
Yeah. Someone's out there.
Please open the door.
John? My husband's outside. This is a trick. Oh my God.
And it's looking bleak. I think they get in, but now they've really pissed off the monsters, and so it looks like they're about to smash their way in. Unfortunately, at this critical moment, Ellie Fanning discovers a hatch in the floor that will see them through to the Dharma Institute beneath.
Yeah, so there's beneath there's a bunker with loads of food and computers and phone and all sorts of things, and they're like, oh my God, we could stay here forever, and it's that's not the point. Obviously, look at the computer. And then so Dakota Fanning looks at the computer and finds a load of videos on the computer,
A lot of vlogging that this guy has done about his experience. And like most vlogs, there's really only one that's worth watching, and it's, you have to wade through an awful lot to get there. Eventually, she does find a clip that's like, hey, I left my boat outside of checkpoint 13 something. And she's like, oh, cool. Also,
so this is the professor, by the way.
Yes.
So this
the
is
professor who was obsessed with his dead wife, but was also quite sure that these things and their ability to mimic might in some way allow him to bring his wife back.
Yes, exactly. They might shapeshift enough.
Yeah.
And in one of the vlogs, you find out he's managed to lure one of them inside.
Yeah.
And then he had to go upstairs and shoot it because it was too something. And then himself.
It's too hot.
And then he said, my boat's outside number 137 or whatever. But don't worry, because Dakota Fanning made that map, remember? So, they go out upstairs during the day. They run. They
don't run very urgently.
No, actually, they don't.
A fair amount of time getting ready, making sure they're ready, and then they hike to the boat and just about manage to make it. Although little mini Baby Bell unfortunately gets taken by the things because he forgot that they can imitate people and is, oh, my brother's still alive. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't him.
Nuts. That wasn't him, guys. Come on, Jamie. You knew that.
You knew that. Anyway, so the three ladies get in the boat.
Yes.
And they're going to go back to Dublin or something. I don't know. Somewhere. Like a more central.
Somewhere Irish.
Somewhere in Ireland that's got buses. Anyway, so they row off. They get to a bus. They ride the bus, which was actually quite a funny scene. And then they... the professor, by the way, had left a video being like, please go to my office in the university.
And please delete my internet history.
And like, clear my browser history. There's some weird shit. He's like, destroy my research because no one should find out about this, right? So Dakota Fanning goes and pretends she's his niece or whatever and collects his findings.
It's so easy to get into this office, which has been perfectly preserved in this university since his disappearance. Because like most universities, they have money to burn.
Also,
so
this
they could just
office, I don't know if you've seen your professor's offices, right?
I have.
I have. And they're like a shoebox. This guy's office was 2 rooms. It had like a fireplace. It was like
it was honestly,
it had a mural
Katie,
on the wall.
I don't know if you've ever been to Ireland, but they're in a whole. They're still in. They're still in the EU. It's a whole different situation.
It's a whole
over
different
there.
world over there.
It's a different academic world.
I should get into academia over there. What am I doing in my pokey office?
You'll be in a creepy haunted wood by the end of the week.
I can't wait. Forest Witch is my number one ideal job. I told you this.
Yes, would you settle for Swamp Hag?
I think at this point I would. Yeah.
10 years ago, not a chance, but
this time. Now, Forest Witch, I feel like it could just... Anyway. So then, she takes the research, she looks at it, and then she realises... Are we doing the big spoiler?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So she realises that, oh no, Forest Irish woman... was actually Professor's wife, who is dead, so it can't be her. She must be one of the Watchers, who has now evolved into Forest elderly Irish lady. So she goes to try and warn chick from 13 Reasons Why, barbarian chick, and while she's there, she encounters another Watcher who has taken the form of barbarian chick, and and then there's like a big kind of horror fight scene.
Well, hang on. That is. Sorry, I got momentarily distracted. She goes, and it's the same one, right? It's the one who was the old woman the whole time, and she has now shifted to become. Yeah.
So it's one Watcher, but shifted from barbarian chick into the So this Watcher's barbarian chick, and then she's old lady, and there's a big fight scene, and she scurries away. Actual barbarian chick comes back. She's all fine. They're all fine. Everyone lives happily ever after. Oh, and we forgot that apparently, and I don't know why this was in the plot or whether it's bigger in the book, Dakota Fanning has a twin for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
Who then comes back at the end, and they're all friends, and she's like being a good
there
aunt.
There is thematic significance there that we just don't have the faculties to appreciate. I'll tell you who does.
I tell you who does.
Is M. Night Shyamalan on Google. So
With his big moustache. So that's basically it.
that is basically it. There's a
that's
second
basically
book.
it.
I don't think it's going to get a second movie unless M. Night Shyamalan pays for it.
I mean, he might.
He genuinely might.
He genuinely might. The M stands for might. So
Might Night
might
Shyamalan?
Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. So what did you think of The Watchers?
I thought it was kind of bad, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't so bad that I was like actively mad that I was in the cinema. Do you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
Ghostbusters, new Ghostbusters bad. Where
sure,
we
that was
both came
aggravating.
out and we were like, why were we there? That was a waste of my time.
Yeah.
But it was bad, and it wasn't bad horror movie bad. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there are bad horror movies and I enjoy them. I've seen so many. Like, I have Shudder. Like, it's do you know?
That's
you
a
know
lot.
What I mean?
That is a
like,
lot.
It's a lot. But this had something about it where I was like, it was kind of boring, you know.
Yes.
I had hope from the beginning. So when we get into our good things, we'll talk more about that. But I had hope at the beginning because I was like, oh, this is going to be dumb. Yes.
Yeah.
And then when the old lady showed up, I was like, oh, it's dumb again. Yes. And then it stopped being dumb. And I was like, oh, no.
Agreed.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like really dumb.
That's the thing, is you're once again looking at that dichotomy between being sort of genuinely good and amusingly bad. And
Yes.
this unfortunately falls in between to a sort of bland competence that's just not very involving. Because there's a premise there, but it's tricky because I was never fully unnerved by the premise. The premise that is trying to scare you is the idea that there is something watching you. You can't see it, but it can see you. I don't know. For some reason, I just couldn't get unnerved by it. I couldn't get the creepiness of the idea that there's things right behind that reflective surface that you can't see.
I think it's because the idea that you're being watched and you can't see them, but they can see you. The thing is, they knew at what time they were being watched, right?
True.
It's kind of like, that's why they used, there was a weird side point where they had one DVD and it was a reality TV show. So reality TV is obviously fake because you know you're being filmed, so you're acting a certain way. But if the premise was you had no idea that you were being watched at some point, that's a creepy premise. And I've read a couple of sci-fi books, especially The Light of Other Days, which is like they create this kind of sci-fi wormhole thing where you had no idea people were watched at any time.
Yeah.
That's a creepy premise because you'd have
You're
to change
right.
your whole life. In this way, they only had to do it during the night, and during the day they could live their everyday lives. So it's not that creepy.
I think you've hit upon the key thing for me, actually, which is the idea that in order for you not to know you were being watched, it would have to be silent. And this movie does not use silence in a very menacing way. Like the idea of did you ever see that movie, infuriatingly called The Watcher, I'm pretty sure, that was out last year? It was Laika Monroe, the lady from It Follows. She moves into a flat with her boyfriend in Romania, I think, and then on the first night she notices that there is a figure way across the courtyard in a neighboring apartment block just staring at her.
No,
and all she can
I
see is the
didn't.
layout.
I
And
didn't
she's
see
not-
that one, no.
It's so creepy and it's so sinister, and that's creepy because there's so much ambiguity there. Is he looking at me? What is he thinking? It's silent, like he's just there, completely stood still. This, like, the horror movie monsters just do the horror movie stuff, you know. They convulse, they contort themselves, they make that clicky noise that everybody's decided
Yeah.
is the scariest thing a monster can make, and it's just very cliched.
Yeah, they're like
the
long and
actual
skinny
creature
like
designs.
Slender Man.
And they got
like,
the claws. They're very
Yeah.
over the top. There's nothing frightening about their design. They're just standard ghouls that you could have taken from anywhere.
standard ghoul.
Standard ghoul.
Like, you know,
unfortunately.
there's one Jenny Nicholson video where she says she wants to have a Halloween party where everyone has to come as like a out of copyright Halloween monster, like generic
Right.
witch or generic vampire. So you can't come as like Dracula, you just have to come as a regular vampire. Like, it's like that. It's like,
I like that.
standard monster. Like, there
Standard
wasn't
monster.
anything to distinguish them. It's not like it was it. It's not like Pennywise.
Or think of a
It's
good
like, you know,
think
it's
of a
just like
good
a creepy
character
clown.
design. Think of a good creature design. Think of like The Descent.
Yes.
Where those things are terrifying. You know, or even something like A Quiet Place has better, you know, monster design than these. They're just very bland and there's no weight to them as well. And I think that's partly because they're entirely computer generated,
Yeah.
which doesn't help.
And
When
do you
the
know what? It
reality
is
TV,
well, it is creepy thinking that something could morph into you.
sure, yeah, but Mimic, the Guillermo del Toro movie in the
Yes.
90s, managed that a lot better. Because again, it's just they don't do anything. I feel with that uncanniness. We've all seen horror movies where suddenly the evil thing turns into someone you love and just walks at you, and there's something slightly off about them. That's again. The uncanny is very richly mined territory, but the idea of it becoming you is something else, I guess. The doppelganger.
I mean, think about the first in the last season of Buffy. So
sure.
first can morph into any dead person it wants, including Buffy, because she's died twice. And it really is that person it tricks people because it does actually turn into that person. But obviously it's not 100% turning into that person in this. There's something off about it. And so it's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but also you totally know. Like, I mean, we got it.
I've just had a think though, and I've just thought about so many more menacing doppelganger movies, like The Double, like Enemy, Us.
Us. Yeah, in
Us.
Naomi Klein's latest book called Doppelganger. She talks about us, and she talks about her whole book. Highly recommend this book. Love Naomi Klein. Hello, if you're listening. Highly recommend this book, Doppelganger. And she talks about her doppelganger, Naomi Wolf, and she talks about doppelgangers in literary and movies and history as well. So
Black Swan is another.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, and this it didn't have what doppelganger movies have, which is like, you've taken my identity away from me.
Yeah.
Which is what it feels like when you've got this doppelganger. So you've taken my identity, which is the one thing that I hold closest to myself, and now I'm in a horror situation. No, it's just you look a bit like me and you sound a bit like me, but we know it's not you.
Well, I guess the whole you're right. There's always like the horror movie effect, the grey eyes, the slight distortion kind of thing going on. I guess the potential with that. Because when the reality TV show DVD is there, I remember thinking, well, this is a bit on the nose for what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. But ultimately, actually, it didn't end up doing that. It wasn't a horror movie literalization or sort of exaggeration of the reality TV kind of model, which, if you're a famous person's kid, is probably something that you're quite into, is this idea of what's scary is the idea of being watched all the time, and that the people watching you might have a creepy or unsettling insight into how you actually think and feel, which is what the potential of the monsters are.
I actually disagree. If you're a celebrity kid, I think you're born into that. So I
you're
think
used
that
to
Northwest,
right?
for example, is so used to it.
Right.
That she actually embraces it. Whereas I think if you're a regular person and you're in Big Brother or something, you're actually going to get much more unsettled. Or like a Love Island, we all know that Love Island people need more therapy, and that there's been a lot of tragedy around that show, and you're kind of so hyper aware that you don't act like yourself.
Well, not to psychoanalyze the director, but maybe that is why she so uncritically portrays all of these things, and that there's not more of a of an interrogation of the idea of being watched, of being seen through, whilst you're in this tiny space, with the lights on you and, an unseen but vaguely menacing crowd outside sort of seeing everything about you, just waiting to tear you apart when you leave. It's quite a niche concern, really. This is a great horror movie for Big Brother contestants if it was made well, but... I don't know.
It's a bit Black Mirror-esque in that episode where it's a white bear, I think, where she's like committed a crime and people are watching her. Yeah, that was a great portrayal of being watched and having no idea why.
True, and then within that is also the sort of slight fear of mob justice, the fear of, being punished by people based on the perception of your crime and not considering your humanity kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, there's not, in spite of what that guy said, in spite of what M. Night Shyamalan said in his pseudonym earlier, I don't feel there's much depth here. What I feel is there's a lot of missed opportunities, avenues that could have been pursued. And the entire finale, after they get away from the woods, very weird tonally. It suddenly takes on this very YA fantasy, Artemis Fowl-ass alternate world kind of lore-heavy thing.
So lore heavy, and I was just like, we don't need this this kind of like fairy tale explanation. It either needs to be there from the beginning, like Pan's Labyrinth, or it needs to be like not. I didn't need it. It's unnecessary.
No.
Like you don't need to over explain this.
Yeah. And it's a chip of the old block situation because it's the same thing as Lady in the Water, M. Night Shyamalan, and old, really. Like, that ridiculous explanation of the beach is not in the incredibly good graphic novel.
Sorry,
he just loves to explain stuff.
Funny old is. Oh my god. We actually did laugh for most of that movie, so I kind of
We laughed a lot at
We laughed a lot.
We laughed a couple of times during the watch it.
But mainly but the thing is, it was just us laughing.
No, it didn't catch the crowd like old did. Maybe she'll grow into it, but unfortunately, if this is her, because again, thematically and aesthetically, it's quite similar to Knock in the Cabin. The village. Creepy stuff in the woods.
Yeah, but the village is definitely a cut above.
Oh god, yeah.
Like the twist in the village is like amazing. Yeah. I'm not spoiling that for everyone, but yeah.
No.
So I think that but yeah, you're right. I mean, actually there are points that it did look very pretty, but because of it was in the forest for so much of it, she should have made the forest look better because it could have looked a lot prettier.
Well,
or creepier, and it didn't.
Yeah. It
was just like a regular old forest.
Well, look, let's get to some of our quick fires now. Let's quick fire. Quick fire. So my first one, the reason I do this transition is because, my first one is some of the shots of the wood were quite pretty. Like, I remember just there being some mist and some tangled stuff, but for the most part, you also do move away from actually believing them to be the woods. There's a part where it just feels like, okay, this is a set. And also I'm having Strangers Chapter 1 flashbacks, so help me. When she's hiding in the tree roots, it's like, oh god, no.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, just move. What are you doing?
Don't put the shotgun down.
I enjoyed the opening scene, which we laughed a lot during because it was dumb, right? So they've got this guy running through the woods, and he's going, oh, I'm running through the woods and I'm lost and whatever. And then he goes, oh my god. And we laughed at that. And then he sees the Watcher and he goes, that's impossible.
Which is a ridiculous thing to say because it would have looked like him. It's the idea.
And I was dying. I thought it was delivered just so badly. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
But I liked it because I was like, yes, this is going to be dumb. I'm ready.
Yeah. This is going to be an experience, but unfortunately.
So I quite enjoyed the opening scene.
Yeah. Okay, there's a moment where you see these... again, for the most part, the aesthetic wasn't bothering me, except for the stuff that's on like the security camera they set up. They find a camera and they set it up outside with like a lead going through into the house. And at one stage... this guy's legs come into view, and I think the lo-fi quality of the image and the nakedness of the legs, it reminded me of better horror movies where, it had a bit of a Men quality to it, frankly, and I do think Men is better than this. It's an old, tasty one, is Men, to talk about, but it had a Rory Kinnear-style rawness to it that I enjoyed.
I actually had that scene as one of my one good things. So,
cool.
just like that general scene. So there's a scene where the husband, but it's not actually the husband. Does it turn out to actually be the husband in the end?
No, I think it was just one of
the Watchers.
I think this is them hinting it.
Yeah. So the husband, but not the husband. One of the Watchers comes back to the thing, and they're knocking on the door, and the, barbarian chick, is arguing with the others about opening the door. And yes, our dialogue is dumb. But it's one of those fraught things where you're like, what would you do? Which is what horror movies are supposed to do. It's supposed to be the like, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah.
And me and Paul have a pact that if I'm ever in a horror movie situation, he'll go with it until like the conclusion, and then he'll get me psychiatric help.
Yeah, we'll get to a point when you feel it's resolved. Although that will become an issue if like, in order to get the ghost that only you can see to go away, we have to, like, I don't know, kill someone, like an innocent, to offer their blood.
I think at that point you get me psychiatric help.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. But if you need to go to a library, I'm there.
Yeah, that's...
If you need to, like, search some microfiche, I'm happy to be on hand.
You say it like I don't know how to do microfiche.
You can show me how to do microfiche and then we'll do it together. Come on, like, if you're looking for, like, the little girl who disappeared in the woods near your house, like, in the 80s, that's going to take a while. You'll need, like, someone doing a reel each, and then we'll get there quickly.
Okay, cool. I'm ready. Okay. So, yeah, I like that scene. I thought it was a bit of tension that it was lacking generally, so...
Yeah. Well, speaking of, like, a sense of so bad it's good that was lacking generally, I think we have to talk about Olwen Foyer, who plays Madeline in this, the
Yes.
old
Oh my
Irish lady.
This is on my
Now,
list too.
The way she is delivering her dialogue is wonderful because everybody is quite improbable and going through it with a sort of Zoe Deschanel sort of oh my god, what's going on? This is weird. I hate it. Kind of like spacedness, and then she comes in with this commanding voice and her Irish accent. We mustn't go beyond the forest after dark.
It's important to remember that we are in their territory. The Watchers allow us to live because we follow their rules.
And it's just so,
It's so
at
good.
odds with
It's-
what you've seen so far. It's hilarious.
It's like nobody talks like that. But
Yeah.
then when you find out that she's actually one of the Watchers, it kind
Yeah.
of makes sense that she's
It
not
makes
talking
sense.
like a real person.
a
But
little forest sprite.
it was funny, and it was just
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? But also, I love it. I loved
Yeah.
every moment of it. So she loses it a bit towards the end, like
Yeah.
she's not doing it as much. But at the
Yeah.
beginning, it was really prominent, and I was loving
Yeah.
it. Okay, I liked the line. You know what I'm gonna say, right? It's one of the lines I laughed at was at one point Dakota Fanning is going down a ladder, and she stops
yeah.
and she goes, "Hand me my bird,"
Yeah, it's very good.
and I was just like, "That was really good." I don't know why it made me laugh so much. I think it was more the delivery than the line.
It was very serious, yeah. Speaking of line deliveries I enjoyed, Georgina Campbell from Barbarian is in this, and yeah, some of her lines are great because again, she's very, very, if she had worse lines, then she'd be right knocking on the door of a Rufus Sewell from old style, kind of thing. But she has a couple of good ones, like when I think after having had a massive debate about various things about the monsters and what they can do, her husband's voice is at the door again, and she's just like, "Is that one of them?" It's like, "Yeah, sweetie."
Yes,
Definitely.
it definitely is.
It really is. But again, just characters stating the obvious and just saying out loud what's happening
Oh gosh.
is part of the course.
I think this is my last one.
Oh, good.
I quite liked that. I quite liked Dakota Fanning in this. I don't think her performance like a tour de force, like Shyamalan said on Google. But I thought that she was a good choice for a leading horror chick because she's creepy looking, and she is quiet, and she's kind of like, I don't know. I think she could do horror if it was better horror. So I liked her. I wasn't mad at her, basically.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, my last one is vaguely sinister when you find out that early on when they're on the other side of the mirror, you hear them clicking, and Dakota's like, what's going on? What's that noise? And she's like, they're applauding. They're applauding for you. And then, it's fairly silly. But then later on when you find out that clicking sound is actually them morphing into them, and that this whole thing is essentially about practicing imitating humans. And so they're just there sort of doing that.
Applause. A welcome to the show.
Yeah, I think that's quite good.
Yeah.
That's quite unsettling in retrospect that that's what they were doing. And that's the quick firing. I forgot to ask the team. Sorry, team. I'm
the
doing that
team.
far too often.
I'm
Sorry,
here.
team. You're here, and you are the OG team. You need to represent all of them.
I represent.
And you have done. You represent. We represent the OG team.
Click, 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 and I morph into the whole
No.
team.
Oh God! Click, click. Okay, well, in lieu of the OG team, let us move into the one better thing. The one better thing.
Oh, I forgot about one better thing. You do yours first, and I'll think.
Yeah, I'll do mine in my spooky lighting setup that has.
Yeah, I don't
taken
know
hold
why.
since the
I'm in
sunset.
like really bright lights, and Paul's just got one light shining on his face and nothing else.
What I've got is, I've got Enemy. Denis Villeneuve's Enemy is a movie in which Jake Gyllenhaal is just a guy in a very downbeat sort of world when one of his colleagues comes to him and says, "Hey, I saw a movie last night and it looked a guy who looks exactly like you was in it." And he goes and checks it out and becomes obsessed with this guy, this extra, who looks exactly like him. He tracks him down, and things get weird. It's a very good film. It came out around the same time as Richard Ayoade's The Double, which is also worth checking out. But yeah, I think Enemy might be one of my favorite doppelganger things. Although obviously, Twin Peaks gets there.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And yeah, there's some really spooky stuff there. Oh yeah, Hatchling as well is quite a good one. At least it ends up as like a kind of doppelganger thing in the end. There's a lot of good, like, this is well-trodden ground, everyone. Triangle has that thing going on. There's a lot going
Triangle
on. So,
is a great movie. Highly recommend.
Triangle's a fantastic film. I'm sure we've done it before, but please do watch Triangle if you haven't. Have you thought of one?
Yes. Though
Okay.
I have to say, it is technically a TV show, but it's as long as a movie. And that's one of the new Black Mirrors. And that is Joan is Awful, if you haven't seen it.
Remind me.
It is a girl sees a Netflix show that's called Joan is Awful, and it's about her.
I haven't seen it.
And it's like her on the show, and it's everything she did that day, and she's like, oh my god, what is happening, kind of thing.
That's quite interesting.
And it's really creepy the way she's like, I'm on the show, everyone's looking at me now, like I'm so confused about what's happening. So it's, again, that idea of like identity stolen.
Yeah, it ties into like the baby reindeer thing that's happening right now, where this person has a Netflix documentary made about them in which they are the craziest person on earth and is now disputing it, and like that's
Inventing Anna also same thing. So I think the chick who's her friend in Inventing Anna is like suing Netflix or something for her portrayal in that, and so it's like
it's becoming a thing.
Yeah, it's like how. It's difficult because obviously documentary, right, is about that, right? Yeah. So I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. It must be so difficult to know as a documentary maker where the line is.
True, or if you're just a storyteller. Most storytellers draw from their real life, but to what extent do you have any right to the stories of the people who are also in your life?
I would also like to shout out, to M. Night Shyamalan here, because even though he is sometimes regarded as not a good filmmaker, some of his films are fantastic. And one of the ones that a lot of people haven't seen, including you, is The Visit.
I have seen The Visit.
Oh, I thought at one point you hadn't, but I guess you hadn't.
I saw The Visit.
Yeah, and I love The Visit. So if you even if like obviously go and watch The Sixth Sense and The Village and Signs and all those ones, but The Visit really is a good twist, and it really is creepy. So
it's a good urban legend style twist.
Yeah. I would recommend that above this. In fact, I recommend all Night M. Night Shyamalan's above this.
Yeah,
no
fair.
offense.
But yeah.
Oh,
not all of it. There's this is better than Lady in the Water, I think.
Oh, that's the one I haven't seen. So
and it's better than After Earth, and it's better than
The
Last Airbender. Oh no, Happening's better than this because
Happening is
one of the funniest movies. Happening's one of the funniest movies ever made.
Okay, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't recommend this film. Basically, is what I'm saying.
That's fair. No, nor do I. It's not. I don't. The worst thing about it is I don't find it very promising. I don't think this represents a new interesting voice in horror. This just felt stunningly generic, and I'm just not that interested in what comes next. What I am interested in is, what's it called? The Tour? The Trap. The new M. Night Shyamalan film coming out.
Yes, the new M. Night Shyamalan film is out soon. In fact,
Josh
it's out
Hartnett.
in August, the week before my birthday.
Yes.
So, yeah, we will be definitely watching that.
Yeah.
As a
we haven't seen that, but that's the one better thing.
Yeah. We watched we had the trailer directly before this, obviously. And we were like, yeah, this already looks better.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and we've got other like horror movies that I'm sure will be coming out because I think we've been a bit disappointed lately. A
little bit, but there's a lot on its way.
Because
so
we were excited for Abigail, and then it was bad.
Yeah, that
like,
was a shame.
And it's such a shame. I mean, Sting was okay, but it wasn't great.
It's
the first Omen was pretty good. I quite liked it, but it wasn't like anything to shout about.
I'd like to watch that again because a lot of people are very enthusiastic about the first Omen, and I somewhat liked it. I think I liked it more than Immaculate, although I preferred the ending to Immaculate 100%.
The ending to Immaculate was fantastic, but I didn't like the rest of Immaculate, really.
Which one has the creepy burnt lady in it?
Immaculate.
Okay, I like that one. And also, was that the one that has the woman who jumps off the top of the?
Wait, no. So the one who jumps off the top of the thing is immaculate. So maybe the burnt
Right.
lady is the first omen.
I think it might be
Because I watched them
remember
so
that.
close together. I was
Yeah,
like...
that's the thing. It's a hell of a double. Go do that. Anyway, Katie, how
Yeah.
can people find out about that horror chick?
Well, you can go to my blog, though. I haven't updated it in ages because I had a mental breakdown. But I will
Whoa.
at some point update it very soon, maybe.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like verses, so maybe I'll do like Abigail
Ooh,
versus
lovely.
this or something.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like poems about horror movies.
Oh my god, I should.
You
That's
should.
thathorrorchick.com and
Yeah.
horrorchick blog on Twitter. What about you guys?
Well, you can find out all about us at OGT Pod, wherever you want to type that in. Quest Fantastic's a role-playing podcast that most of us do. There's Jen and the Film Critic, which has contemporary reviews, which I suppose is also going to include another review of The Watched, thinking about it. Probably just this summarized. Yeah. Is that everything I do? I think it's everything I do. If I get this episode out in time and you're living in London, come to Korean Film Nights, which I'm curating.
I went to one.
Just type that into Google and then come say hey. I'm Paul Say Hey.
And I'm here because Paul asked me to.
And remember, the one good thing about the watched/watchers is that every so often it fulfills the promise of the progeny of M. Night Shyamalan and is just really funny.